Inside the Birds is back. What's up, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan. Hope everybody had a wonderful Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And we are back with a show that we've done before, but with a little bit of a twist on it. We are going to do a contract series now. We have done contract shows before where we try to jam pack way too much contract lingo into one show, and Adam had this really good idea. Let's go through specific positions this episode, then we'll cover a few more next so that we can really get into the nitty-gritty and determine what these contracts mean for both now and the future. And Adam, it led me to a thought I was having, because we are Eagles podcasters, reporters, media, right? We are able to do a show like this or a series like this. And if you think about it, if we were, say, I don't know, let's say we were inside the Packers and you and I were longtime Packers insiders, I don't think we could do something like this because the Packers are sort of a cash to cap team, if I'm not mistaken. They don't do a whole lot of voidable years and dummy years, I don't think. Or I know there are some teams that don't do it. I thought the Packers were one.
I cover the entire league, so I look at these things. And
right.
Yes. Now, Andrew Brandt, our friend Andrew Brandt, we haven't had him on a long time, but he started that exactly like you said it. Now, if you look at the way they do their contracts, signing bonus, full guarantee base salary, that's very standard. They have not changed. You're absolutely right. They haven't changed that in years, with very few exceptions. Now, the Bucks used to do it like that. Mark Dominic, who I work with at ESPN, told me that not only did he do cash cap, they wouldn't even do signing bonuses. They were just fully guaranteed base salaries, no proration. So, if they miss on a player, okay, they'll get crushed. If the guy had a guarantee, let's say $10 million in that year that they cut him, okay, they would have to eat that. But that's it. There would be no future cap issues. They would take the hit that year, and it's interesting. The Bucks were doing that up to 2 years ago, or actually 3 years ago, when they made the Super Bowl run. They were like, we're not losing anyone, so they just did something that they're not probably used to doing, but they had done it before. They had to change it because they wanted to keep all the players. Sometimes you got to do that. And then the Eagles, the masters of the option bonus. We picked up. This is we call the Inside Eagles Contract Series. There's some stuff I was unaware of that someone said I need to be aware of, and I saw that. And then there's a Quez Watkins note, which I did not know about, but you're going to learn today.
Yes, I look forward to going through it. And again, we're in a unique position that I think is favorable for good content at this time of the year, because, as I like to say, no team borrows against tomorrow like the Philadelphia Eagles. And they do it advantageously, and it really has not hurt them other than the 1 year that nobody could have predicted coming, where the salary cap went down because of COVID, right? And the only time an individual contract, because of the restructures that push a lot of money later, really came back to bite them in the ass was Alshon Jeffrey, because he was hurt. And then by the time he came back, he was sort of a shell of himself. And, they felt compelled to play him because he was making such a lot of big money, and he really was not, that much of a producer. And it was a lost year of 2020 anyway. But otherwise, what they do contractually, as we explained, by their use of dummy years and spreading money out, it enables them to retain a lot of their good core players, knowing that they can push some money around and then keep restructuring. And yes, it makes salaries high at some point, but as we just saw with Darius Slay and some other guys, Howie figures out a way to make it happen anyway. So it doesn't really, Jeffrey Lurie is the guy to really credit, because he understands how this works. Howie and his people do a great job of explaining it to him, why it works and why it's effective, the advantages to it. And every once in a while, in the last few years, the Eagles will be high on dead cap money. They know that, though. They know they're going to have to release some players and use the post June 1st to kind of cut the losses a little bit. And so they're sometimes high on the dead money, but it's not surprising to them. They knew these players were going to make some money on the books.
They rarely use post June 1, just so you know, they rarely use it. What happened was, I think on the Cox contract last year, the craziness of cutting him, taking the cap hit, and then resigning 24 hours later, I think that was post June 1.
Well, they used it on Alshon, they used it on Deshaun, they used it
years
on
ago. They
Cox.
don't really,
Right.
they rarely do it.
But I think they would have. Right? Don't you think they would have used it on Slay if they hadn't worked it out?
Oh, they told them they were. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah,
they were. In fact, that was what. So, by the way, we had Jason Avant on. If you haven't heard it, that was our Friday show. We had to get Jason on. We had to do it a day later. And we joked, we would joke with Jason. I don't know if it's on there or off the air, but actually, I think we talked to him about Howie because, Jason was Howie, and how all this, they told Slay they're going to come with a post June 1 designation. 3 hours later, they resigned him. And I was like, have you ever gone through anything like that? And it was funny, his reaction, what he said.
It was. I'm glad he reacted that way because we weren't the only ones, I think, that was one of the more crazier 24-hour negotiation cycles that we've ever seen before. So
still don't get it, but anyway, hey, they kept him, and as Slay said, he was going to go to Baltimore. It was either Baltimore or Philly, and he chose to stay in Philly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so we'll have a lot to talk about today with the contracts we're going to do today, the positions, our quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and then the series will continue on Thursday with a different set of positions. And I do want to thank everybody for 2 things. You mentioned the Jason Avant interview, our last podcast. One, we got a lot of great feedback, and I know people are hankering again for Q&A, and of course we'll do our best to bring that back. I think they want to do it when the season starts, and then we got a lot of nice positive feedbacks about it. And also we asked for some patience because it came out a day later than normal, and I think we found that it was worth the wait for that. So thanks to everybody who was patient. Thanks for the kind words. Do remember, Inside the Birds is brought to you and powered by our friends at Ocean Casino Resort. It's the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds. For our Patreon subscribers, I know that we will pretty soon be dropping those extra pods that we do, the Ask ITB live stream, and then we're going to have a former NFL executive or header assistant coach. We've got a couple of different things that we're trying to work on. We know all of them are good, and we're just trying to make sure it fits everybody's schedule. We did have somebody jump on as a subscriber in the last few days. So we appreciate the people who came on with us. And again, if you want to get on, it's patreon.com/insidethebirds. What was I going to say? Something else Patreon related.
Okay. So there's a former head coach with ties to the staff.
Yeah.
But this one's going to be a home run. Someone tipped me off, said you should look into this guy. Then I did a little research and said, oh, holy smokes, he does have ties, and there's a really cool reason why. And then we've got like 3 or 4 possibilities that we're looking at. We'll split them up with the coach and executive, and we look forward to doing that for June and obviously July. Yeah, that's right. We've got training camps. We're gonna kick off our Patreon stuff for training camps. We got a cool guest coming.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about some of these contracts, Adam. We'll start at the most important position, the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, and the others. But Jalen obviously signed the enormous mega deal, and for about 2.5 weeks, he was the highest paid player in NFL history.
Sure.
And then who came along? Oh, Lamar Jackson.
Sure. Lamar did. I give him credit with his advisor.
Sure.
He did a great job. But getting back to Hurts here. So, yeah, he signed through 28. And then the comical thing, you said something very funny. I think it was, give it to me off the air or on the air when we talked about we're going to do the contract show. So you can't wait to hear how many voids these players have.
Oh, so, yeah.
I'm not sure if you know. How long is Hurts' voidable? How many years?
I think I predicted it was going to be 25 voidable years, but I was being tongue in cheek.
Okay, all right. On that point, okay, you're in the right ballpark. They could get out after the 25 season.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, geez, that's only really this is the 3 years.
Yeah, it's got more or less a 3-year structure. 7-year void.
7-year void.
See, what they're going to do is they're going to owe him some money in 2025. But to avoid paying the full option bonus of $50 million, they're going to have to cut him by the 3rd day of free agency in 2025, or it's $49.785 million is fully guaranteed if they don't cut him by then. So the chances are obviously he would have to fall flat on his face or suffer a catastrophic injury not to be here. 23 was a home run year. It's just it's just the way it goes. Because think about it, even if he's average this year, they're not going to cut him. They're not going to cut him for 25. He would have to be so bad this year,
right?
He had injury that he would have to have a Wentzian type of regression. Even then, Wentz won it out. It wasn't Eagles didn't like it.
Right. So if he plays at Pro Bowl level or even top 10, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
I'm not even talking the MVP level that he just played at. If he just plays at good enough starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles level for 3 years, isn't it more likely that in that third year, when the guaranteed money is up, after that, they'll probably look to restructure?
All right,
because he's going to want more security. He's going to want job security. He's going to want guaranteed money on his.
Yeah, I mean, they could in for the 26th season if he's still playing well.
Mm-hmm.
They could do, because here's the thing though, his base salary, the way they did it was smart. But because they did their usual option bonuses, mega option bonuses, which are basically signing bonuses inside of the season, the way it's explained to me. That's all it really is. Once you roll it over, you got the proration that goes out for the remainder of the contract. So they've got so many options. I think they've got 4 option bonuses coming up: 24, 25, 26 is the big one. It's third, by the way, the third day of free agency of 2025 is when they're going to want to make a decision if they need to. If he somehow bombs this year,
mm-hmm.
and even then, even have one bad year, quarterback, you got to give him this break because he was so special this past year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. So the Eagles are just, I don't know why. I don't know why. I talked to Joe Banner on Sunday. I should have asked him. I don't know why more teams are not doing these option bonuses. Yes, teams do them. They don't do them. They don't do as many for extensions, like by year, like the Eagles do. I don't know. I know teams are worried about dead money. The Eagles seem to not be worried about it.
Yeah. That is the interesting part, is that, again, the only way it can backfire is that if you have an enormous option bonus due on a guy who you're uncertain about. If like you said, he bombs 2 years in a row, then it becomes a pretty easy decision, right? But especially at the quarterback position, if a guy doesn't do well, and it's a hard position to replace, and he's not doing so poorly that you're just ready to move on to your backup guy. I mean, the whole Wentz to Jalen Hurts thing, that's not going to happen every single time. I mean, if that was that easy, yeah, it almost never happens. I mean, the Eagles tried to do that with McNabb to Kevin Cobb. It didn't work. They tried to do that with who else?
Well, but here's the thing, though. But the difference is this, though. McNabb was not seen. You could make the argument that maybe he wasn't the player he once was. But the thing is, though, they signed Wentz to an extension 9 months before they drafted Hurts.
Right.
I'm sorry, 10 months. It just makes no sense. But
yeah,
hey, sometimes you got lucky.
No doubt about it. All right. Well, by the way, do you have the cap numbers on Hurts year by year here?
Sure. So this year, because he's got the low base salary, the cap number is only $6.15 million. And then it starts going up about 13.6 in year 2. Starts going up. But see, it'll go up once the option bonus is rolled over. It's what it is now, but the option bonus his first option bonus is next year. Mm-hmm. Of 39 million, so that'll jack up his cap number more. Trying to think it's just look at these, as you were talking about. It's a good term. Mega option bonus is 39 million.
Borrow against tomorrow, baby. And optionality. Now, are you able to tell how much of the new money is in the first 2 years of the deal?
Let me see if I can here. No, I mean, I could look at. I could do.
It surprises me that they didn't try to put a little bit more new money into this year's salary, because, like you just said, it was only $6 million. His base salary this year is $6 million, or his cap,
total cap,
right?
His total honestly, his cap number is $6.15 million, but what it is his signing bonus is $24 million.
Mm-hmm.
So it's prorated. So his cash this year is $24.34 million. But the cap number is way less because it's a signing bonus. His salary is the veteran minimum of $1.01 million, and his signing bonus is $24 million. So his cash this year is over $24 million. But the cap, see, you were talking about cash to cap.
Mm-hmm.
The way the Eagles get away with it is because, and this will start in 24. The option bonus is fully guaranteed at $39 million, but it's prorated. It's just like a signing bonus inside a season.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way they're doing it, but they're not. Signing bonuses at signing, where these option bonuses are inside of the season, they roll it over by whatever date that's specified. And then, of course, for deferral, depending what the Eagles' cash situation as an organization is, they defer the they own the money, but they could defer it the next year or right when they exercise the option, maybe it gets half. It just depends on what the language is.
All right, let's move on to Marcus Mariota, who signed a 1-year deal this offseason. I find something fascinating about the reaction to this deal, but so let's go through the financials of it first, right? It was a $5 million deal.
All cash, yeah. The signing bonus and base salary is all cash, $5 million fully guaranteed. So all the cash is fully guaranteed with a 4-year void. Now, I know you said it, I said it. He was bad last year. He struggled. I get why he's here, because you keep the continuity of the scheme. And although, listen to what Jason Devon said. I think it was Jason Devon, right? On the show.
I believe, was it Jason? I can't remember.
Talk about how he doesn't necessarily.
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah,
really interesting point I've never heard before. Really contrarian, but really smart point.
Right.
Which here and talk about if you haven't heard it. So anyway, look, the going rate for backup for the upper half backup quarterbacks is between $5 and $9 million a year. It's just that's what teams are doing now. The high, like Jacoby Brissett got around $9 million. Heineke got a lot of money. He got more than Mariota. But here, the only thing I would say with Mariota is who are the Eagles competing against? I know $5 million is not the upper tier, but it's higher than the league average for backup quarterbacks. I don't know. I wouldn't have gone there. I know that they wanted to keep the scheme continuity, but I would have done $5 million, but it's their money.
Yeah. So what I find interesting, and by the way, that's a 1-year deal, but it's got 4 avoidable years, so they spread the $5 million over 4 years. So from a cap hit standpoint, it's not very big any of these years. I guess unless they cut him like today, which they wouldn't do.
Well, if they cut him,
then they owe him $5 million. Yeah.
If they cut his cap number is $1.932 million. That's the salary and the prorated signing bonus of $3.835 million. On your point,
right?
That's where the dead money goes. Over the final 4 years, 24.
So 2 years ago, they signed Joe Flacco to be their backup quarterback, right? And no, it was last year? Yeah, 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago, because then later on they wound up trading for Gardner Minshew. But do you remember what that contract was for Flacco?
Yeah,
I thought it was 3.5 with a chance to make 5.
And had a bunch of voidables, and people were crying over Joe.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it was this kind because Flacco has this weird vibe with social media. They make the elite was kind of a joke.
Yeah. I get that. So he came like the butt of a bunch of jokes because he had really fallen off. But like, did Marcus Mariota not fall off even worse than Joe? No, I'm just surprised there was like no reaction, no outcry the way there was when they signed Joe Flacco to be their backup for less money than Marcus Mariota. I think people are just the whole fit to the offense thing, like, and thinking that matters that much. You just want a backup who can win you games. I don't. To me, the whole fitting the offense thing is not the biggest deal in the world.
And of course, the guy could throw the ball. Flacco, he saved their bacon against Cleveland last season.
Yeah.
You're right. He got $1.35 million fully guaranteed 2 years ago from the Eagles, and they traded him to the Jets. But anyway, so yeah, that's it. And Ian Book is signed through 24 now. That's the thing about this training camp. It would be nice if Ian Book, and I know they kept him last year on the roster. It would be nice. He was claimed off waivers. It would be nice if he kind of shows himself something. Pretty good athlete, pretty smart kid, good when we understand the quarterback room. But just so they could get an idea of could he push to be the number 2 in 24.
Yeah, that would be nice. We'll see. Yeah, it's a good competition that I'm waiting to see. And of course, Tanner McKee. He's just on your normal rookie deal for a 6th-round pick, 4 years. Not a whole lot of money. It's just standard slotted scale. Go ahead.
Yeah, give you real quick. Because there are no guaranteed base salary for 6th-round picks. It's just a signing bonus. Signing bonus is $186,520. So if they cut him, they're into him for just that. The salary would go away, and they would owe him just under $187,000, which, quite frankly, we know that the chances of them keeping 3 quarterbacks are not very good. They did last year after they kept Book. They kept him on all season. He really wasn't active. But teams now, as you know, most teams only keep 2. It's kind of rare for keep 3. Keep 4 is unheard of. So someone's going to have to go. We'll see what happens with the training.
Hey, what round was Davis Mills picked in when the Texans picked him? Do you remember?
Third.
Yeah, third. I'm trying to now that you what you said about Tanner McKee and how low his salary is. I'm trying to think of a team that started like a really late round draft quarterback. So they basically got a year's worth of play for a guy making $180,000 at the game's most important position.
All right, Brock Purdy last year. You ready for
Oh, that's a great one.
Ready for this one? See this, and you can't just this contract by rule. You have to wait. Any drafted player, you must wait for a year. The Joe Banner rule.
Uh-huh.
We'll bust Joe Stones over that one. That's definitely how we want. The PA was so pissed off at the Eagles because they didn't pressure them to sign deals after 2 years.
Right.
So many of the players regretted it until Michael Lewis bucked the trend and said, "No, I'm not doing it." And remember, he signed a free agent deal with the Niners. But Brock Purdy made 700,000, just over 705,000 last year.
And then this year, he's probably going to make just a little bit more than that. And he's going to be the starting quarterback.
No guarantees, 870.
That is unbelievable.
Crazy.
That's beautiful business right there if you're an NFL franchise, especially if he does well and you go to the playoffs, championship game, Super Bowl, whatever.
All right, by the way, Jalen Hurts was not the lowest paid starting quarterback. He was one of the 3 lowest paid last year. Take a guess what he made last year.
Oh, it had to be. Well, I mean, the thing is, he was a 2nd round pick, so he got a decent, not a great signing bonus, but compared to a 7th round pick.
But his yes, one. But that was his signing bonus was 2020.
Right.
His first full year, well, more or less, it was his second year in the system. First full year was 21, but 22. Last year he only made 1.08 million. And it wasn't even guaranteed. The guarantees ran out in 21. The base guarantees ran out in 21. It's crazy, but yeah. And again, they couldn't do anything until after year 3. Now, any undrafted free agent, you could extend them after 1 year if you want.
Right. Well, the whole thing with Purdy was a pick though, right? He was almost Mr. Irrelevant, right? So that's even more genius because if he was actually undrafted and was going to be the starting quarterback, if you're his agent, you're like, oh, no, you're not going. They're gonna have to do something if you're going to be the starting quarterback in this team. But
they really can't.
No, if you're undrafted, I'm saying you just said they could.
Yeah. Well, okay, on your point, that's a great point. Let's say he wasn't drafted. Let's say they signed him as an undrafted free agent. Yeah, they would. You're 100%. They would have to. His agent actually used to be a scout for 49ers. They would have to. There's no way he. 100% agree with you. In fact, the club would have to be embarrassed, which is so fair.
Right.
What is
So instead, they're smart enough to draft him so late and make him the starter. And of course, they didn't see that coming. But that's why you can afford Javon Hargrave when you already got a lot of guys and you got Nick Bosa to pay, is because your starting quarterback is not even making $1 million. That's unbelievable. I love it. It's good stuff. I don't love it for the player, by the way. I mean, I think it's a weird system that's just there's no way to make it right, unfortunately.
I can't think of another I can't think of another extreme example of quarterback than Purdy. I'm sure there are some guys like that. I just can't, because the last pick of the draft, doesn't get into.
No, I guess Tom Brady. I guess Tom Brady winning it in his 2nd year of a 7th round pick or 6th round pick contract is probably the best that you can do.
Well, the best in NFL history, but a guy. It was a 6th round pick. Purdy was the last pick overall.
Right.
7th. Kurt Warner, probably.
Good one.
Not probably. He's definitely.
Yeah.
And then it's so funny. The Cardinals didn't want to pay him. That part of why he retired. They just didn't want to. This is several years ago, obviously, but I just remember hearing someone close to the situation said, "You know what? They just didn't want to step it up," and he was thinking about it anyway. But man, it's. And give the Eagles credit. Before we move to running back here, they just you could say I don't think they do this, but I think years ago agents would say sometimes that they would try to get over on their players, trying to sign them early, but not really. They just kind of they make good bets, as you said earlier. When Jeffrey was a bad bet because he had injury history anyway before they'd done his last restructure, but they just make smart bets. I don't blame him for Wentz because Wentz was still playing at a very high level. I mean, he did get hurt, but 19 started sort of the regression, but they still extended his contract. You just don't know it's going to go that south that quickly.
Right.
Other than that, I just can't think of very many they've missed. But anyone come to mind where they really missed?
I can't really think about it. Can't. I think they've done a pretty good job, but it's been hard to complain. Hard to on how they've gone about business in that way. I'm just trying to think. Like Terrell Davis must have been another, back in the day for the Broncos as a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, I don't know when they deal. And see, Hall of Fame wise, if you look at his career, it's kind of like the great Gale Sayers.
Mm-hmm.
Gale Sayers had knee problems. Terrell Davis, obviously, his career was never the same after that ACL injury against the Jets.
Right.
But yeah, and that's why you got to get your money when you can.
Sure.
Not some guys wait, and unfortunately, I know it's a small gamble, but you just don't want to get hurt.
100%. All right. So that would be quarterback. We've done all the quarterback situation. We'll move on to running back in a second. I want to remind everybody that it's Ocean Casino Resort's 5th birthday this summer. They can't wait to celebrate with you. Join Ocean for exciting promotions and sweepstakes, headline entertainment, the best day life and nightlife lineup in AC, the debut of the birthday bar, exclusive local collabs and partnerships, commemorative 5th birthday merchandise, and so much more. Don't miss stunning fireworks and unique events all summer long. Ocean Rewards members will enjoy over $5 million in gifts and prizes. So be sure to sign up for an Ocean Rewards card to get in on the fun next time you visit. All right, let's also pause real quick to hear a word from some other great sponsors. All right. Running backs, Adam. Now, this is one of this is one of the areas where you just say, Howard Roseman, you are masterful. You are a genius, because Miles Sanders is making more than like all 4 of your running backs put together, and you've got like 2 guys who are when healthy 2 of the best in the league. And I think your highest paid running back on the books is Boston Scott.
It's a great point you make, because it's funny. I thought about that. Sanders this season, well, his average per season is 6.35 million. It's super close. I think Sanders will technically make like 200 grand more than their 5 running backs together.
It's amazing.
Take a guess without looking. I put it in a breakdown here. Guess how much money of the 5 running backs combined. Take a guess how much is fully guaranteed at this time. Don't look.
I'm not gonna look. I know that 600K is a big number. So
right, for remember that,
yeah. So that would be for like Penny, 600K. I don't know how much came with DeAndre Swift. So Boston Scott probably got about 6. I'm gonna say like 2.3 million.
No. You're close. Penny got 600 grand.
Right.
Good memory. Boston Scott got 1.08 million, and no one else gets. So Swift, no guaranteed money because he's on the funny of his rookie deal.
Right.
Sermon has no guaranteed money. Gainwell has no guaranteed money. So it's only 1.508 million, 1.608 million fully guaranteed. That's it.
Oh my God.
Look, but
there are fringe players on the Eagles roster right now fighting to make the team who probably have more guaranteed money this year than all 5 guys put together.
It's really interesting. We talked about this back in March. Now we're probably fast forward to now. They use this 500 grand or 600 grand fully guaranteed signing number for like 8 or 9 players. It's really interesting. Offensive defense, but
yeah.
So here's the deal. It's simple. None of them are guaranteed anything. The guarantees are not high enough. Now Scott got a good contract. We'll start with him. Boston Scott, who's their highest paid running back this season. Believe it or not, the guy's projected to be a backup. I know.
Projected to be.
He is. I mean, right?
Of course he's projected to be.
Sure. Right. So 1.85 million, 1.08 of it is fully guaranteed at signing. To get him up to 2 million, he's got 150K in per game roster bonuses. So, if he plays in every game, he gets the 150K. That puts him up to 2 million. Now, 1.08 million, is that guaranteed to keep him on the roster? No, it's less than 1.1 million. But he is their highest paid running back. You would think he would make it. They like him. He's a jack of all trades. Good role player, kickoff returner, again, jack of all trades. Guy to have around. Great story. they signed up at the Saints practice squad.
Yeah, Saints practice
So,
squad.
yeah, signed him up in the practice squad. So he's been a good story. He's now in his 5th season.
Unbelievable. Highest paid Eagles running back, Boston Scott.
I can't count.
Now, I have to think, I think we had this discussion once when we were doing the 53-man outlook. I have to think that Boston Scott is a very good chance to make this team because they brought him back as a backup, as he said, but like they gave him some guaranteed money. They didn't want, they gave him what they thought was fair for him and brought him back. You got guys who are way more accomplished trying to duke it out, but I feel like he's comfortably there. Like, I know I'm going to be the third running back on this team. I do wonder if them acquiring DeAndre Swift, Adam, which they didn't know they were going to be able to do until draft day, I wonder if that changes their outlook on Rashad Penny a little bit. Like, do they really expect to have Swift and Penny along with Gainwell and Scott? I don't know.
On that now, because you need backs with size, right? Swift with his injury history, you got to be careful on the volume you give him.
Mm-hmm.
If Trey Sermon, who has no guaranteed money in his contract, 1.102 million, it's not guaranteed. If he has a great training camp for preseason, yeah, he could push Penny up the roster. Penny's got $600,000 guaranteed of his 1.35 million. He's got another $170,000 in per game roster bonus, 10K per game, and yeah, I get why they did that because it's injury history. But again, none of them are guaranteed to make it. But you and I are in agreement. Scott, not a lot, but he's got a high probability of making it. You need it back with size here, in particular, because if you have a lead in the fourth quarter, you want your closer, and Scott, like, they've tried it a little bit, and it's kind of why they've had other backs try also to do it. But Penny with the size, and I know you got to be careful with how many carries you give him because of his injury history, but he got a ton of carries in 21 and to close that season when he went off with the Seahawks. So that's it. I mean, that's the way that the thing looks. But keep an eye on Sermon in training camp. Yeah, that to me, do you need to have two backs with size? Probably not.
No, I think you're framing it perfectly. I mean, I think that when you look at this group, you pencil in DeAndre Swift, Kenny Gainwell, and Boston Scott, and it's basically Rashad Penny and Trey Sermon to duke it out there for the quote unquote size back.
Sure. Now I will say, Penny's got more ability than all of them.
Sure.
He's super gifted. You could say he was overdrafted. Probably true, but he's got unbelievable explosion for a guy his size. But again, you can't depend on him, and because of his injury history. In fact, he's been available less than the games that he had been available. So, like, I forget what the percentage is, but he's got a very bad percentage of being available. Let's say it was 60 games he could have played. He played in less than half, whatever the number is, over his career with the Seahawks. So, we'll see. It's going to be a fun battle. They haven't had a real battle for a starting job or key roles in years, quite frankly. Since the 17th season, and this will be fun.
Yeah, I hope, and I would imagine we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't think they need to see a lot out of Boston Scott. I think they know what they got in him and Gainwell, and with DeAndre Swift's injury history, you're probably not going to see a heavy usage in. Well, I mean, they don't really have long training camp practices. They only have one preseason game. I'm thinking like how they're going to work practices in their first and second team. I would love to see Sermon and Penny get a decent amount of looks on the first and second teams to really make this a comp.
Yep. Gainwell. Well, first of all, you got 3 preseason games, and you've got 2 sets of joint practice.
Right. I don't know why I said one. I meant one fewer. Right.
Although the Colts one, from what I'm told, it still sounds like they're going to stick. They don't have any plans to have a second day, just the one day. Very strange, but it would be 2 with the Browns and 1 with the Colts. But that's how teams are doing, with veterans. They, on your point, which is a good one, they don't want to expose them to preseason, so maybe. Like the Rams were talking about this. They'll do them in joint practices or just training camp, and they will not play. The Rams didn't play in stars in the preseason last year, so maybe we see it here. Look, and remember Ted Rath, was one of their what's he, trainer?
Yeah,
one of the trainers. So he came from there. So maybe they do that. I think it's a fair point. And by the way, Gainwell, 3rd year was 4-year deal, $940K, no guaranteed money. It's look, he should be on the roster, but I'm. As much as we think we know what's going to happen, who knows? It's fascinating. Yeah, Swift and Swift and Scott are the two guys where I'd put my money on making it. But who knows? It's going to be a really, really interesting training camp battle. Not, as Avant said on our show last Friday, he thinks they're kind of better off.
Well, it's hard to argue it. I mean, they have so much talent. They have 4 or 5 guys who can all do different things. I agree. To me, this is more comparable to 2017 when you had a great committee and guys who can do different things. So, yeah. All right, let's move on to wide receiver now. We'll finish it up this pod with wide receivers. Now,
a lot here.
Yeah, there's a lot here. And it's weird. You have a very sort of oil and water kind of comparison with your 2 best wide receivers. One of them, AJ Brown, who signed a big extension after the Eagles traded for him. The other one is, just had how many yards did he have? He caught 80 balls and 1,100, 1,200 yards on a rookie deal.
Oh, Devontae
Smith, yeah. He had 1,200 receiving yards, right?
Oh, yeah, good call. Yeah, 95 for 1196 that season. 12 points. Yeah, 7 touchdowns.
Right, on a rookie deal, which is great. It's great business.
I mean, think about it. When you look at Devontae Smith, when you look at Smith's deal, you got the 5th-year option. This is year 3. They get signed into extension after the season. His salary is only $940K. His total comp is so good. Just $2.5 million in total cash. It's fully guaranteed. He's got a salary plus that salary which I talked about. He's got a fully guaranteed roster bonus. It's the beauty of these rookie deals, man. You keep your cash low and your cap low. And then the big one is AJ Brown, which we'll get into a second. But man, it just doesn't get any better than this. So yeah, we know the Eagles won't let this happen, but he signed through 24. You got the 5th-year option for 25 plus 2 tags. That's not going to happen.
No, he's getting an extension next year as long as he's the Devontae Smith that we've seen the last 2 years.
Yep, yeah, that's going to happen.
Yep.
As you just said, plays well and stays healthy. Special football player, home run. Probably a little better than most people. We knew he was a special player based on what he was in college, but this kid it's amazing. I mean, Owens was great, but he wasn't drafted. I'm trying to think the last Eagles rookie receiver that was dominant year 1.
That was what?
Dominant year 1. He was really good, Devontae.
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun Jackson, I don't know if you would call it dominant. He had 900 receiving yards. That was pretty good for an Eagles wide receiver.
Right. So the guys do kick ass in the first-year receiver. You're right, because Devontae had 64 for 916. Over 14 yards per catch, but when you catch so many balls, the average per catch doesn't go down, but it's still 7 touchdowns. And he might be one of the. We'll ask Cosell this when we talk to Greg soon. We'll announce that soon. We're going to be doing something else with him. But with Devontae Smith, he's one of the best receivers in the National Football League. He's well, I know Greg hates those lists, but we're gonna put him on the spot. Give us your top 3 Z's. He won't answer. He's gonna. I don't do lists.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. So to have that now, let's talk about AJ Brown's contract.
Yep.
So last year was his first year as an Eagle, so it was the first year of the extension that they gave him. What is his cap number this year?
AJ Brown, a former great baseball player.
Yes,
drafted. So his cap number, because he got a $24 million signing bonus. His cap number last year was only $5.7 million. I'm rounding to the it's really $5.68 million, but I'm rounding up to 5.7. The first year cash because of the signing bonus is over $24 million. So then they roll in those option bonuses inside the contract. So his cash this year, this includes the base salary, and the fully guaranteed option bonus is $11.5 million, but the cap number, because they're prorating the option bonus, is $8.32 million.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's how you reduce it, man. That's again, I know, and you're right. A lot of teams don't do it because they're worried about what if we miss. But the Eagles are fearless. They trust their evaluation. Yes, you can't control if the player gets hurt, and they do such a great job with sports science and how they've really looked into the injury stuff. When Geoff and I started the show in 18 and 19, their injury situation was so bad. We were so critical. And we heard so much from agents and people criticizing from around the league, and they got it. I mean, they knew, and they got this thing solved. And they kind of changed the way. I don't know if this is probably coincidental, but they changed 3 years ago. It was the option bonuses. They just kept changing it, I mean, they changed it and they kept doing these option bonuses and it worked for them.
So let me look ahead because I think this is the big issue with the starting wide receivers. Not issue, the big question mark. Next year, because it sounds like if it's just 8 million, the cap numbers have been low the first 3 years. So I'm going to guess you're going to tell me that AJ Brown's cap number in 2024 is going to be pretty big.
Yeah, it's 12.5 million, so it's going up 5 million. Now, I don't have the rest of the
Still not that bad. Yeah.
Right, and it should, then it's almost certain that if he could stay healthy, they're going to have to do some of this contract at 24 season because his cap number is 26, and then they have the we laughed about this whenever it was March. We were just joking when this was done on purpose because this inflated the contract to say he could get to say he had an average over 25 million, which is a joke. It's really way less than that because his salary in 26 is 30.25 million, cap numbers over 41 million. There's no way he'll play in that. If he kicks ass at 24, I think both sides will come to the table.
Yeah, they'll probably have to because, again, that's going to be 2024 will be year one of Devontae Smith's extension, which means it'll probably be pretty low cap number for Devontae Smith because that's what happens when you do an extension. But year 2 and year 3 of Smith is you're starting to see the cap number rise of that extension, and that's going to coincide with the back end of the AJ Brown deal that you're talking about that's got more money. So they're going to wind up needing to restructure AJ Brown, the back end, to keep, because you can't have these two wide receivers both making like 25 million each or having cap numbers of 25 million each. It's not going to work out too well if you're trying to put together a well-rounded team.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, they'll have to do something there.
Right. So Brown is, look, he was pretty healthy last season, but from what I understand, like, it's not like they didn't overwork him in practice. I don't know what, I have no idea how many reps he got. From what we understand, like they knew going in the way to get him through the season. They did a really good job with it. So did he. It's so far it looks good. Titans made a mistake. They just felt like they didn't want it. They didn't trust his knees, but the Eagles did their homework. They did, and 1 year so far, so good after 1 year.
Yeah.
Then, quite frankly, by structure, by structure, they're pretty much locked in for 24. It's after 24 that if he won't struggle as a performance, it would be with injury. If he struggled with injury in 24, yeah, they can get out without Owen Manning after 24 season, and then they'll have to make a decision. But you make a really good point because it's very rare. It does happen, but it's rare that a team will pay two receivers. Like the Bengals now, they're eventually going to have to pay Chase, and they have Higgins they love, but they have to make a decision. They're trying to get Burrow's deal done, so you can't pay everybody. So it's kind of the curse of being a really good football team. Sometimes you can't pay everybody. Tyler Boyd's one of the highest paid slot receivers.
Right. All right, let's take a look at some of the backup receivers, some interesting notes on that. Before we do that, I want to tell you to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto, so make sure you check them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation. Let's pause real quick to hear from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you happen to go into Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. All right, Adam, the Eagles brought in Olamide Zaccheaus. I finally pronounced it correctly. Nailed that. Been working on that in front of the mirror. It was a 1-year deal. Why don't you give us the I chuckle a little bit at the guaranteed money because it's like, well, what did he do to get just slightly more of a signing bonus than some of the other guys? But I guess when you go 3 years and you only drop 3 balls, then maybe you get that kind of
yeah, he's been a good steward as an undrafted free agent. So Olamide Zaccheaus got 600 fully guaranteed at signing, 550K base salary of his 1.08 salary. Then he got to sign a bunch of 100 grand. So just under, no, it's technically over. Technically, his total cash is 1.2325 million. So just over 50% of his cash is fully guaranteed signing. I know it's not a lot, but when you look at the way, I know what you're getting at. If you look at the rest of these deals, he actually got a higher guarantee than almost everyone else on offense who signed, 1-year deal or.
Right. Dude got more than Rashad Penny. I mean, like,
yeah, he really did. Yeah, it's a little surprising. Now, he's a veteran technically. He's been a starter, so I get that. And he signed, by the way, 1 week before the draft. Now, had he signed after the draft, I'm sure he would not have got that much in guaranteed money. Not a lot.
right.
But the leverage goes to the clubs after the draft.
Yep.
So good for them. That was actually really smart to sign him then. Now, here's the big story here. Someone put me on this, and I looked it up, and yeah, it's true. So we all know he's on the final year of his rookie deal. Now, Quez Watkins he was drafted 2026 round. He had what's called a base escalator. All the drafted players have it in year 4 if they haven't had an extension.
Mm-hmm.
His base salary jumped because he hit the escalator. It's kind of, you have to like breathe and you hit it. So Quez, his salary last season was non-guaranteed of just $895,000. It jumped about 3 times, 2.745 million not guaranteed. Here's the deal, folks. It's real simple. If he doesn't beat out Zacchaeus for the 3rd receiver job, how do you justify keeping him as a 4th receiver for 2.743 million?
Unless you think he can be on special teams, which, he hasn't shown you. He does not look smooth as a punt returner, surprisingly.
Not a kickoff returner either. So yeah, it has to me. And what they can do, this is, I do remember this. It's the same but slightly different, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the corner's name who the Eagles drafted with the Packers? Name escapes.
Oh, Rasul Douglas.
Yeah, thank you, Rasul Douglas. They did, and this is extremely rare. He actually took a pay cut on an RFA tender. Like, you'd never see that, and I can't think of any team who's done it. And he took it. He agreed to it.
Mm-hmm.
On his RFA tender with the Eagles last year with them. He agreed to a pay cut. So theoretically, if they want to keep him, if he doesn't beat out Zacchaeus, I have to think they're going to go to him. Hey, it's real simple. We want to cut you down to better minimum, but we'll fully guarantee it. It could be like 1.01, whatever it is, 1.05 million, but we'll fully guarantee it. That way, you'll be on the team. We want you to be on the team, but we can't guarantee you. We can't pay you 2.43 million. Remember, it's not guaranteed, so we could cut you. They would have a leverage there. So just that plays into this battle here. I didn't know this before before you and I put this theme together for the show and the structure of talking about this. I didn't know that, so I forgot that he had that base escalator. So there's just no way you can't justify. He's taking a pay cut if Skates beats him out.
And if that were to happen in your scenario, where they would say, "Hey, we're going to cut you unless we agree to a guaranteed reduced salary of, say, 1.05 million," that would still be almost more than all of the fully guaranteed money going to running backs this year.
That's true, but see, here's the thing: he's the teacher's pet. He loves him. He's like his brother or his son, whatever. And
listen, he's. I think he'll find his way on the team. I think he's valuable. I just think he should be the backup outside receiver.
He could fly, right? He should be he'll be the backup X for sure.
I mean, look, the guy in the Chargers does great in that role, right? Who's their deep threat? Who's their number 3? Palmer, right?
Yeah, Josh Palmer's he's one of the best backup receivers in the league. Now, unfortunately they drafted Quentin Johnson. You're absolutely right. Palmer would back up Keenan Allen. He backed up Mike Williams. Yep, that's right.
And I know they played him in the slot a little bit, but he's really seemed to do his best when one of those two guys was hurt, which they were a lot last year, especially Allen, and they would put him in the outside, and he would be able to hit, he would catch some 50, 60. Anybody who had him in fantasy knew he could be a feast or famine type of player. Yeah.
I'm raising my hand. I have him in Dynasty League, but Quez could play. He just had a bad year. Mm-hmm. I know he had a shoulder injury, but this is it. Now, everything we've heard is good. Sirianni talked about it. What on the record saying is everything's good. And Quez has a chip on his shoulder. Hey, or whatever the media is saying about him, or whatever the case may be. But it's always good when a guy's on the final year of his deal because they have such motivation. There's no guaranteed money. It's super high base salary for a backup receiver.
Yeah.
Not anyone's fault, it's just the way the CBA is. So we'll see what happens. But that puts a little juice to this this battle. Right.
No doubt about it. All right, good stuff there. Really enjoy. I love going and taking a deep dive into these contracts. I love every opportunity I get to make fun of avoidable years and the borrow against tomorrow. But again, we just have fun with that. It's been smart business so far for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then next podcast, we'll get into more position groups where it gets really interesting, especially on the offensive line and tight end and other positions on defense. So look forward to doing that with you, Adam, next time we collaborate for Inside the Birds. That's going to do it for this episode. I want to thank everybody who listened. And of course, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.